Hi, my name is Marcia Carson. I'm a naturalist and I volunteer here at Gabis. And today we are showing you flowers of the prairie.
And I'm Deb. I'm an Indiana Master Naturalist. I took my class here at Gabis Arboretum, and we are volunteers for the Arboretum. We lead hikes, we are hike docents, and we spend a lot of time in the prairie, so we'd like to show you some of our favorite native wildflowers and tell you why they're important.
Okay, this is a compass plant. It's a member of the sunflower family. And you can tell the compass plant with its deeply lobed leaves. It has a very thick and hairy stem. And the flowers look very much like a sunflower. And of course, this morning we're not looking at it from the direction that can you see that sunflower? But the easiest way to recognize this is its leaves, which tend to be north-south, so that the sun, in the morning, they get the sun, in the evening, they get the sun, and during the middle of the day, when it's hottest and they're most likely to lose their water, the leaf is pointed towards the south, so they don't lose as much water, as much moisture. This is Prairie Duck, which is related to the compass plant, and it has a very different leaf. It has a big, thick leaf. It's a little sandpapery on the back side. That helps it hold its moisture. It's what we call a basal plant. The majority of the leaves are very low, even though in this case those leaves can be 3 foot tall. And the flower is very much like a sunflower. It's part of the sunflower family. These are going to be the seeds. They are the seeds. And this plant also, the leaves generally are north-south, so that during the middle of the day, it doesn't lose its moisture from the sun. And this plant, as with the compass plant, these roots can be 14 feet deep, a taproot down in the ground. But they're easy to recognize because of this huge leaf. And this is, once again, Prairie Duck.
This is the Rattlesnake Master, and as you look at it, you might think it's part of the yucca family because the leaves look like a yucca plant. But it is actually a member of the carrot family, much like turnips or parsnips or the Queen Anne's lace. This is a native wildflower, and its nectar is important for pollinators, and it also has a very deep taproot. A lot of the prairie plants have very deep roots compared to your lawn grass. Prairie plants are important to reestablish the native prairie that we used to have in Indiana. This is the flower. It doesn't flower any more than that, and there's actually a lot of nectar for pollinators, and it will reseed itself. As you look across the prairie, you'll see a lot of Rattlesnake Master. This plant has several medicinal uses. The indigenous peoples used the root ground up, and they thought that it might repel rattlesnakes. They also thought it might be a rattlesnake bite cure, but that was not the case.
This is called Culver's root. It is related to the plant that many people have at home called Veronica. And it looks a lot like a candelabra. It's a great pollinator plant, as are all of the plants we're looking at today. The name came from Dr. Culver, who prescribed it as a laxative. I don't suggest you try it, but that was how it got its name. It normally grows up to about 5 feet tall, and I love the little candelabra look of it. It's always in a purpley pink lavender, but what a gorgeous plant.
This plant is the big blue stem. It's a grass. It's one of the native prairie grasses that's the foundation of many restoration prairies. It's got a very deep root. It has the seed pods that will come out in a few more weeks will be shaped like a turkey foot. So sometimes it's called turkey foot. But this is a staple of native prairies. It's a tall bush grass, and it is used by the birds both for eating the seeds and for building nests in the bunch grass. I'm standing in the area where the signature oak used to stand. That's the tree that's on the Gabis Arboretum logo. You might recognize it. We have the sister tree is over here behind me, which is a large bur oak. Sadly, the signature tree had suffered some damage through storms and insect rot, and it started to fall apart last year. They had to eventually cut it down. But what Sarah and the grounds crew have done is left a lot of the baby oak trees that have come up around the signature oak. And often they say when a tree is dying that it can send energy to the new plants that are coming up around it. And you can see these baby oaks are all within the drip line of the original signature oak. This is the purple coneflower. You can see the top is shaped like a cone, and it does bloom in different colors. There are different varieties of it, but this is a great plant for native pollinators. It provides nectar to a lot of different species of pollinators, and if you let the seed heads stay over winter, birds can feed on it throughout the winter. It's very popular in native wildflower gardens. It's easy to grow and will reseed itself as well.
This is the gray-headed coneflower, which is obviously related to the purple coneflower. It has a grayish top with bright yellow. This is also called the native coneflower, even though they are both native. There are many other kinds of coneflowers, but you can see these are very droopy petals on the flower. There are a lot of hybrid coneflowers out there that you can purchase to put at your home, but these are the natives. This is Queen Anne's lace, also known as the wild carrot. It's actually not native to the Americas. It came from Europe and it has naturalized. It has an edible root when they're very young. And the story is, the myth, that Queen Anne of England was a lace maker, and she pricked her finger while she was working on the lace, and a drop of blood fell into the center. And you can see these are all little tiny flowers, but the one in the middle is a very dark purple or black, and in this case you can see it. In some areas they are considered invasive, and some areas take them out because they are not truly native to the United States. Even though I said that this has an edible root when it's young, you need to be careful. Poison hemlock looks very similar to this. It will not have the little white or the little red dot in the middle, but whenever you're out, you need to be extremely careful because many plants are poisonous, even though the majority of them have been used for medicinal purposes. This is Liatris, which is also known as blazing star or gay feather. It has a very grassy leaf. It comes up on one tall spire. It's a great pollinator. The birds and the bees love it. And it's a beautiful prairie plant.
This is the white wild indigo. We've missed the flowering plants, but now we have left the seed pod. You can tell this is a member of the pea family, which is a legume, and these are known as nitrogen fixers. They can help the soil in an area gain more nitrogen, and these are popular for pollinators. Many caterpillars eat the stems of this plant, so it's a great host plant for pollinators. And when the flowers are blooming as well, it's great for pollen for the pollinators. Here we found a white wild indigo that's still blooming in the prairie. Showy white flowers attract several pollinators.
This is Showy tick trefoil. It's a member of the bean family. It's also called tick seed. And we have already missed the pink flowers that are on it. They bloom much earlier in the summer. And these are spread by animals catching them on their clothing and carrying them to other locations. Stay tuned for another video later on seeds. This is the Showy tick trefoil while it is blooming. Remember, it's part of the bean family, and some of these are going to turn into little bean-like seeds.
This is the ironweed. It's called the ironweed because it has a tough stem that you'll see these plants last through the winter once they've dried up. They're an intense purple color that provides nectar for many pollinators and attracts a lot of butterflies. They're beautiful in your native garden, especially when paired with some yellow asters or the goldenrod that's about getting ready to bloom pretty soon. It did have some medicinal value that the Native Americans used this for. This is Hemp Dog Bane. It is very toxic, so not edible for humans or dogs. It is a member of the milkweed family. As you break a leaf, you'll see a sappy white milk come out of it. And it's got a little white flower. And at some point you might see a dogbane beetle, which is this plant is a host to.
It may appear that Deb and I know a lot, but there are a lot of things we don't know. So we do rely on some of our apps to help us identify plants, especially at different stages of the growing season. The one that I really like is called Seek, S-E-E-K, and it is part of iNaturalist. It's a free download, and it's so easy. I wasn't sure what this plant is. I just open the app, I take a picture, and within seconds, it's now telling me it's a dicot. If I get a little closer, if I move it around, it will come closer on the identification, and it finally ends up, this is goldenrod. Goldenrod is easy to recognize later when you see the flower, but maybe not at this point. Although actually right now we can see this flower starting to unfurl right here. Come back in a week or two.
Thanks so much for watching.
And now we're headed down the trail to see what else we can find.